And I just captured the moment because that's what I just do. I mean, I love it. I mean, last game was just beautiful. But welcome back to the stream. We continue with the stream of the ESLOL Division 2, broadcasted by Rift Entertainment. I'm to the window, and I want you all guys to welcome my precious Tana ever, please.
Yo,
oh no,
freshest Tana ever.
It's that side, it's that side.
Yeah, yo, freshest Tana ever. I don't know. Yeah, I'm quite excited to be here, especially with you. I mean, I might saw your face once, and it could be in one of those trailers and one of those teasers. I think I saw you there.
I mean, if the trailer would have come out like 10 years ago, I would have called myself that guy and not to the window, but I mean, I can always have a career change. I mean, this can always happen.
Yeah.
So we had a really interesting we had a really interesting game now between German Gang and Full Clear, where I talked about it before, that we have this phenomenon that just even top tier teams can have bad time against now lesser good performing like during the last weeks. That still does not mean that the teams will not have the potential to perform good in the future. I would like to take a little look at the schedule, because now as next we're going to have Rift SLOTHS against Once Upon a Team, a second match, followed by a third match of Dynasty against Pertinex, and at the end Next versus Aurora.
That's right. But we have a Rift against Once Upon a Team first, and let's talk about them, because Once Upon a Team, like last season, sadly, almost loses everything. At least they have 2 wins now, so at least something. But and Rift, like last split, win everything. So we have like the same outcomes almost like in the spring split. And in Spring Split, Rift won against Once Upon a Team 2 times. So, and they won against them this split 1 time as well. So it's at least a little bit favorable for them. But that doesn't mean anything, because Once Upon a Team, maybe they come back stronger. Maybe they will crush them. Who knows?
I mean, for me, it is always about this mental pressure. If you're going a 5-week streak with a 9-0, I mean, no matter how against who you are going to play, you're always going to feel this pressure, I guess, because you're performing good, you want to keep performing good, you do not want to let your teammates down. Over the weeks, I mean, people still have to keep their trainings. They also put a lot of pressure on them to just perform as good as they can. Where if you are at the top, the only thing that can happen is just fall below. So I think in this mindset, it should not be taken easily. But as we saw in the last interview with the support from Rift SLOTHS, that they take it with caution. They try to analyze their mistakes. They try to take every team for granted. I mean, I like the sportsmanship. Yeah, but I'm really excited to see what Once Upon a Team cooked for us, because someone that starts at the bottom just can go up. So for me, it is still looking positive for Once Upon a Team.
Yeah, and I mean, JMTG showed the world that the underdog can win. So we might see something from Once Upon a Team now as well. I mean, that would be quite a banger. And of course, they're solid players, so nothing is over just from the start. And if they find a good draft, and if they somehow find a good angle in those games, then we might see something crazy from them.
I'm really excited to see what they cooked up. I mean, also cooking up to prepare to go up. It's also on the other side, what are Rift SLOTHS cooking up to keep this position they have, because you always want to renew yourself. I mean, in having now the interview with German Gang, we see that if you predict your opponent and you let them pick their strat and you prepare against their strat, that it will work really well. And this showed really hard into last game, because in the early game it was like they were playing their games. We had a lot of aggression, I think, in at the 5-minute mark, and from there on it just like gradually just went worse and worse for full clear, because they just did not have the tools to play against German Gang.
Yeah, exactly right. Just I don't know, Rishi, can we talk about the information you just gave us, or is it like, do we wait for draft to give the information anyway? Just write me if I can talk about that. We can talk about it. Yeah. So right now, I mean, you guys had just a big break, and now we are sitting here and just talking. And you guys might think, why are they just talking and not drafting? And that's why the reason is that one Rift player actually at the moment is a little bit late. And in the rules book, there's like a rule with, if someone is too late, then they lose 1 ban, and then more to come if the player is a little bit even more late. So let's hope for them that the Rift player comes somehow, because I mean that would be a really tragic way to lose the first game of the season by just forfeiting it, right?
It would be really sad, because I mean, we do know that the SLOTHS are really about this slowness and about really representing their brand as SLOTHS, which is really respectable in my opinion. Though being that slow to come to the game, I don't think that this is like something they really wish for and want to. I hope for them that everything is going fine and they do not have a medical issue, which nobody hopes for. And yeah, let's hope.
I mean, for Once Upon a Team, this win is important. I mean, if we, I don't know, have we the standings from ready to show, because yeah, you can see that Once Upon a Team with a win would at least get on the same place like the German Gang again, and I mean Pertinax at the moment 3-6 as well, so they could at least get it back to the other teams. And I mean, even Aurora with 4-5 is at least reachable. So, and those the two last places means that you need to play relegation, which is always like not the best thing, because you could maybe drop out of the league. So, and last time they needed to play relegation, but then 2 teams disappeared, and then we had 3 new teams, and so Once Upon a Team didn't need to play it. So it would be quite bad thing to play relegations now. So a free win at least would give them something. But let's hope that Rift can get their players together, because otherwise it's really sad.
I'm asking myself one question. Are we going to see Nautilus today?
Concrete reason?
Yes, are we? Because as long as I've seen, it has been left open. It got chosen every time. It got picked every time. It got performed on it every time. So, I mean, is Once Upon a Team going to let it open? Are they going to play against it? Are they trying like to mind brain it into like, yeah, let's leave Nautilus open and play against it, pick against it? This is really one thing that is burning in my mind.
Yeah, a good question. I believe it was one time when it was open, got picked from them, but also from the enemies. Because last game we saw him on Alistair against the Nautilus actually. So it's kind of sad to not see him on Nautilus, because he is a really phenomenal player. But let's see. And we talked with Adafla, I believe last Wednesday, and he said that they are cooking something. So we might see something else maybe from Kryzen, who knows? I mean, Rel is pretty good in the meta right now, so we might see Rel or something. But I mean, his Nautilus is so good that I definitely would like to see him again.
And normally I really do not like spicy food, but this cooking I really would like to be very, very spicy. I put a lot of question marks upon that. I think that is really nice having this little insider info that people just make you like want to know what this champion select is going to look like. Really enjoyable about this.
Yeah, and there could be even a second punishment for with SLOTHS, depending on how fast the player is. So we might see some other bans getting dropped. I mean, for a team like Rift SLOTHS, probably it's not that important to have some bans. I mean, there are always some sort of target bans or meta bans, but I mean, if nothing gets banned, everything is open, right? And with that, like, even OP champions will be open, because then the enemy team needs to decide if they make target bans or meta bans and stuff. So just losing bans isn't like the worst thing in the world, but of course it's annoying. And I think the side selection also is important for that as well, just because on one side you can leave stuff open, on the other side you can maybe not leave stuff open. Anyway, we are in game. Rift against Once Upon a Team. You can see it not on the logos and not on the title names of the teams, but on the team's text. So we can see Rift and Vote, and with that we know the matchup, of course. And there's a Poppy Bun.
Yes, so we also got the info from the regie that both bans of the second phase are lost because of the because not respecting of the rules at the moment, because of the coming late to the games, which is not that good for them. But I think that even though they lost their 2 bans, this is not something they will make them struggle mentally. So also we got the first ban on the side of Once Upon a Team, so they do not want to see a Nico. And we have a Jinx ban on the side of Rift SLOTHS, even though we got a couple of Jinx picks into Rift, and they do not want to have the trash.
Yeah, and I need to think about Must2 had a really good performance last game. I believe it was on Silas or something, because I remember something that he just crushed in every single team fight, and in the end got catched a lot and somehow couldn't carry it. Something like that. So Once Upon a Team was really close to win it. And there's the classic first big Maokai for Rift, shredded, I don't know, played him 5-6 times, maybe Sejuani 3 times or something. So they just stick to the guns. And on the other side, Syra Khan picked up by Once Upon a Team.
And there he is, the one and only Nautilus. I mean, now we got the 100% pick rate, but are we also going to have the 100% win rate on him? Is he going to keep that? I'm really putting those questions mark up, but also combining it with Kai'Sa and Maokai. Really ambitious to see what they're going to pick next.
Yeah, I don't actually like the draft just from their too much AP right now. So they can't really pick another AP champion. So that would force an Aurelia pick, a Jax pick, a Chase pick, maybe Pantheon by Bukan, who knows. Just some AD sources for their draft, and those are the champions you can also just ban out, but they decide for now. And on the other side, of course, we know that they lost the banning rights. Tristana also could be an option for Bukan. He played it a lot in solo queue, and if it will not being banned, then we might see it from him, just because it's also a flex pick. They could just flex Tristana and Kai'Sa, and I mean, against most mages, this Tristana pick would work. I don't know if Must2 really wants to play a mage, but I mean, he could, so we might see something like that. And let's see what they decide to ban. I would ban out Chase probably, but no, they ban out LeBlanc, and I don't believe that LeBlanc actually would be a pick for Rift Sloths right now, just because they have full AP. So banning out an AP champion, in my opinion, isn't like the best decision, at least, and just plays into the hands of Rift Sloths.
So, and now all the bans are out for Once Upon a Team. We have a lot of AD on the side of Once Upon a Team. Also, Kaiser performing really good, as good. I mean, for me, Kaiser is one of those champions that just performs good in every section of the game, like early, mid, late. You can play safe with her because she has these range pokey abilities. And after 6, she really has this fighting potential and surviving potential also with the ultimate. Viego that can just snowball team fights, and of course Rakan that synergizes really good with Xayah and that can just engage and support the all-in champions. We see that we are having the next pick on the side of Once Upon a Team, where they're also going for that Silas. So I think that here also really slow game early, and then is going to evolve into really spiciness at the 15-minute mark.
Yeah, and Bukan actually goes for the Victor, and it's so much AP. I mean, no, they definitely need like Jax, Aurelia, Chase, Cassandra, something like that for top lane, because otherwise, I mean, they don't have any ADs. I mean, they don't have like a clear tank on the side of Once Upon a Team, so nobody who can really, I don't know, stack armor right now, but still, it's not the best decision. And there's actually a Jax, and let's see what the counter pick will be. Camille would surprise me, just because most people think about Jax as a counter pick to Camille, so picking into it as Actimalus would definitely surprise me. But maybe he's just oh yeah, that's much rather a counter pick, and someone who can stack a lot of armor but not like a lot of magie resistance. So I mean, he can, but he is definitely an armor stacking dude normally, and against such a team, full AP, armor stacking will not really win it. So quite surprising from Once Upon a Team, but now they have good engage, now they have good front line for Xayah, for Must2, so definitely still a good decision.
I mean, I think that the team fights are really going to be really messy, because we are having this this is kind of this R button comp. You have like this Malphite that just jumps in, you have the Viego that can snowball with the ultimate, you have the Silas that, in my opinion, should get every time that Maokai ulti, so that they have a really strong teamfight potential, with also Rakan and jumping in with the ultimate to charm. I think though that the Jax on the top side should not be forgotten, because it is pretty much known that if you let that Jax push, he is going to push, and if he keeps to his goal, then should be a really successful thing. Like, I mean, the Sloth should have learned it from game 1, that's when they had this 50-minute games, this 50-minute game, and the Jax just not sticked to the top side, that it is more favorable for Jax to stay on the sideline.
Yeah, definitely. You talked about the air pressing comp. I mean, we're especially in the game Once Upon a Team against Full Clear last Wednesday. We saw this the exact mid lane matchup with Silas against Victor, where Nemer played the Victor actually against Must2, and in the late game he just crushed all of hopes and dreams of Once Upon a Team. So there could be some flashbacks for Once Upon a Team for Must2, but he also, of course, won his mid lane. So maybe Bukan is a better Victor than Nemer, but if not, then Victor has a hard time, especially with Viego just maybe perma ganking Rakan, maybe some roams in the mid lane. So could be at least dangerous. Just from draft, I would probably prefer Once Upon a Team's draft, but just because it has everything you want. Maybe not the best wave clear, but should work out. On the other side, it's a classic Rift Sloths draft, so it should be strong. They should be the stronger team in general, so they know what they do, but it could be tough if they fall behind.
Yeah, I share that opinion. Though, I have one question. I know that Kaiser at the moment is performing really well on AP, and this is also normally the way to go, you could say. But just because it is the way to go, is she obligated to do it? I mean, she could still go for that Lethal Tempo or Hell of Blade build and still go AD. Questioning it.
I think the AP Kaiser is just too strong, and I mean it's not like in the full AP Kaiser, but it's of course the Rage Blade, the Static, the Nashor's, it has some AP value, but it's just like the best build on her right now, so I would not skip it and just play with that, especially in this team comp. Shredded or maybe even Kryzen will go for the Bizzle Mask, just shredding some MR, and like they have not like the triple frontline who can just stack MR. Like Rakan can stack a little bit, Viego can stack a little bit, but I mean those are not like the classic MR stacking champions, and with that I think it's totally fine to play the AP Kaiser.
Yes, exactly. Though, I mean, Malphite is a tank, but he's not that tank you want to play against in an AP comp, in my opinion. He just stacks armor, and I mean, after Bramble Vest, in my opinion, he should stop building AD on top side and more going for like, well, I mean, you should get the steel caps and Bramble Vest, and then normally he should be fine on top side. You just survive, play his game. Afterwards, in my opinion, you should build more AP, indeed.
Yeah, definitely. But with that being said, I think we will almost drop into the second game of the day with SLOTHS against Once Upon a Team on red side, and let's see what they have doing, what they have cooking, what they show us in this second game.
So we get the first pings. We have Once Upon a Team stacking on the bot side, where Rift just goes for that classic, let's close the lane. Okay, hiding in the first bushes. Nautilus did not see him yet. Oh, and he got detected. Nautilus jumping out. And we have no fights on the bot side. I think that this was the wiser choice. But, well, I mean, I think Once Upon a Team should have reacted there a little bit faster. Maybe Rakan could have, like, flashed in maybe just to stun the animation out of Nautilus, so they could have gone for the first blood. Would have been an option.
Yeah, but also a risky one, because Kryzen is a good player. He knows how to buffer the hook, so there are even situations where you get hooked from a Blitzcrank and still hook out with Nautilus hook and stuff. So it's always dangerous, and the question is, do you really want to risk everything like in the early game, or just try to play it cleanly? And I think it was a good decision to not overreact to one catch.
Okay, so at the moment, wait, we have the Grasp of the Undying and Jax on top side. The first skirmishes, yeah, okay. I have to be honest, this is new potion for me.
No, I think you can play it against tanks, you can play it against any melee champion. Oh, good hook, but good sidestep as well. Just because normally you can stack it really well against melee champions, and then you just get tankier and tankier. So you don't really need like too much attack speed or AD in this matchup, because you will probably win it anyway. There are even Malphite players who would have played Comet actually in such a lane, just to poke out Jax a little bit, but he decided to go for the Quest as well.
A lot of skirmishes on the top side. When Lex just really wants to show that Malphite who is the boss on that lane, and a lot of action. Okay, we have an all-in. They're trying to go for the Viego, and the Viego is the first blood. The fight continues, and we have the second player falling, and this goes 2-1 for Once Upon a Team.
Yeah, that was a classic shredded. Just because I mean he normally is a Kindred main and just invading with Maokai, like basic shit. And yeah, I mean I quite like that. He just gives he just makes it easy, and in the end, and I think that's something that the other teams just kind of predict now. That Shredded always goes for those invades. They just play with Cryo and just trade him when he goes for the dead. So I think it was a good idea from him, but kind of obvious, and in the end they just traded 2-1.
We see mid lane that they're cooking out some engages. Oh, we have the Maokai engaging to Silas, stunning him and re-engaging, but we get the kill for Rift, and Victor is back to the grey screen. Well, actually the first time, but we are in the grey screen now.
Yeah, Must2 maybe a little bit too aggressive. I mean, we knew that Shredded was bot side the whole time, so we knew that Shredded must be top lane or must be top side, and then as long as he has no information about him, he shouldn't play that aggressive, and got punished for it.
So a hook that does not get in, but I think there was a name written on that hook. Lex does not know that the Viego is there. Oh. And they do not want to commit for it. Okay.
Yeah, that's probably a good decision to not commit for any 2v1, and now even Lex plays it perfectly that he baits out Viego to stay a little bit with just a fake engage and stuff, like basic top lane stuff. Just waste as much jungle time as you can, just make your pressure. And Lex does it perfectly as a little farm lead even. So this Jax pick works out fine at the moment.
Yeah, even with that, I mean, he has just 3 jumps to just proc some Grasp of the Undying, get more tanky. I mean, that's just bonus stats. Oh, we like that again. We just jump, we get the stun, and we fight, but now he's committing for the kill, and he is not getting it. It continues on the mid lane where they just stick to him, and they do not want to let Victor go, and Victor is caught by Viego. It goes 3-2 for Once Upon a Team.
Yeah, well played them, and that's exactly what Once Upon a Team did last time against Full Clear. Just try to get your Silas ahead, just try to help out him in the Victor lane, and it worked out. I mean, it still lost it against Full Clear, but it worked out in the early game, so why not do it against Rift as well. In the meantime, top lane just used his level 6 power strike to almost kill him. That wasn't enough, so but good try by Lex, just knowing that he can maybe all in him as long as Optimalus does not have ultimate.
Yep, the cancelled the reset on the mid lane. That is really unfortunate. I think now we're losing some time, maybe away from the side of Viego, of the Silas. Meanwhile, a slow push on the side of Once Upon a Team.
No, does not get freezed, so they will just crushed it in and want to go base now. Maokai actually stole something. I think it's even a red buff, so well played by Shredded, but now he could be in trouble.
Unfortunate, he missed the stun. Again, missed the stun. But we have Nautilus going in with the... Malphite going in with the ulti, and that is a kill for the Viego.
Yeah, Neeko plays a really good round here on this Viego. I mean, he just gets those kills, and Viego, who has a lead, is so strong just because he gets really fast resets, he gets really fast the damage in, and that could be dangerous. I mean, they have a lot of hearts, you see, they have a lot of stuff to later just CC this Viego, but still it could be a dangerous situation if Viego just gets more and more kills.
In my opinion, the team fights are going to be very, very spicy, and Viego has to be the one that falls down. Well, actually, one of the fastest, because just having those 3 golds at this point of the game is a lot of damage that will come into the games. And since he since he hit at level 6 now and can get every time the reset, that gives him even more abilities, even more damage to be successful in the team fights. We had a lot of action on the mid side where we had the Maokai ulti, did not get it. A lot of tension on the mid lane.
Yeah, but still no more kills at the moment. Oh, he even trades really aggressively here into the Jax just because he has the minion wave, and it's Chat Malphite probably maxing W right now, going for those auto attacks. Looks good. And now first Drake for Once Upon a Team might be uncontested. Shredded is not near. He needs to get a little bit more time, but they don't have Cryo mid lane, they don't really have Cryo bot lane, so could be dangerous for Shredded to check out this Drake, but it's one of the Drakes which needs a lot of time because he is so tanky. But it worked out.
It worked out, and the first Drake goes out to Once Upon a Team. Like we said before, we get those Maokai's ultis and we play with them. And I think that is also the plan of that Silas. Meanwhile, we have the rest of the team going for that second objective, trying to secure that Herald.
Yeah, and that looks good. I mean, Once Upon a Team just playing around objectives, getting almost everything. And, well, I mean, they got everything. And that looks really, really spicy. I mean, just from gold perspective, they're even. That's, of course, because of farm leads on all of those lanes. But farm definitely is something, but objectives are more important, much more important. If you could just look at the gold top lane, almost like 500 ahead without anything. Jungle is a little bit behind, of course, because Viego is just stronger, but all this Viego lead is just being neutralized by all of those little farm leads and little... Like, even bot lane is just a 300 gold ahead out of nothing, probably because of 1 or 2 platings. And not even, I mean, crazy how much Adafla is ahead, actually, just by this one wave.
I mean, it shows every time again, if you are consistent in farming your minion waves, this will make your early, like mid-game, way more efficient. And the top side, we are having the skirmishes. Lex just does not want to let go. He fights in the minion wave and still sticks to that. Oh, he's going for the next stun. He jumps in, but we get the ult and then the flash and the kill on the tower!
Yeah, by Lex, knowing exactly the kill range there, and knowing exactly that he especially liked this last one.
A lot of skirmishes on the bot side. We have the stun on the Nautilus, but he survives after the flash. And the skirmishes will have an end after this wave.
Yeah, I mean, he
Okay.
knew exactly that the next jump will kill Malphite, so he knew exactly his damage. And then just flash stun helps, works out. So Lex just showing us how good he is on this champion.
Taking it really cautiously, using the cooldowns to get the minions. We are having a good time. Or a little bit of everyone, I mean, it's pretty equal. Once Upon a Team did have the first two objectives, so the first Herald and the first Drake. But Rift still has that gold advantage. So it is looking really good on, for everyone. Meanwhile, we have Once Upon a Team cooking something up on the bot side, but I think this will be pretty time wasting because you have the reset on the side of Rifts on the bot side.
It could just mean that they might get 2 platings now. Or maybe even 3 platings with the Herald, so this I don't know, good defense there by Shredded. With those roots, he at least stops something, but there goes 2 platings at least to the side of Once Upon a Team. Meanwhile, Jack's even proxy farming a little bit in this matchup, just because he knows that he will win every single trade, and by proxy farming he gets every single CS and denies some CS because Malphite either needs to tank the wave or he needs to let them go under the turret, but then might lose some minions.
So this is actually now the moment on the top side where you just like really want to stay still for as a Malphite player, because like we said, we cannot contest that. Jax is just too strong after that. He gets yes, the Divine Sundra, which gives him a lot of damage to just come through the armor. Though the Viego got silent now the last past minutes. Having seen that he got really in action until the 8-minute mark, now being quiet until now. Should not be what he wants. Though now the next objective is coming up on the bot side, so I suppose that they're going to put and play for the vision on the bot side. Try to get maybe a pick.
Yeah. And Drake is up. At the moment, Once Upon a Team had gotten all objectives, so the question is, can they play for this Drake as well? I mean, they have top lane control, but bot lane looks a little bit harder. It's a 4v4 right now. They even start the Drake. They don't have really too much control over both sides, so they need to finish it quick or they lose a lot of minions. And Shredded is not trying to steal it right now. But he might flash over the wall. No, he does not. So the second Drake goes to Once Upon a Team.
Again, next objective. So, I'm kind of asking myself what we're going for, because this, in my opinion, looked kind of like Rift gave the objective without trying to contest it. Which, in my opinion, would have maybe gone for it, since we gold-wise we are not behind. Maybe the cooldown from the Maokai ultimate was not up to a play. I was not aware of that. Though we have the Jackson on the bot side.
Yeah, just swapping sides for the Herald play, because that's the next objective on the menu, and that's definitely a good idea, just to swap to the side where the objective is. And now they even started, but could be tough, because right now Once Upon a Team might be stronger with this Viego, but they don't want to contest it and get even the bot line turret before, like, that's the key.
Oof, we have the flash engage and the team fight starts, but we have the first kill because Rakan gets killed. And the next start, next flash out again. Okay, so many flashes. Just too many flashes.
Yeah, but well played by Smoothie. Getting out of there. Oh no, Crisis maybe in trouble.
Ooh, next engage, and he took the ultimate from Maokai, but dies to Viego. We have 2 TPs coming in. Malfoy jumping in with the ultimate, but Jax wants to try to contest it and stop 3 people. Getting the first down and the double kill. Oh, okay, I can't find my words again. I'm losing my words.
Yeah, but that was a winning team fight by Once Upon a Team. I mean, they traded 4v4, so not that winning in the end, but I mean, they basically won 4v5 because Rakan was dead after the first engage, and they still won it, so that's quite amazing. And I mean, 2 kills now for Smoothie, 2 kills from Astro, so a lot of good gold here for a lot of important members of Once Upon a Team. So this game looks kinda good for them, but they have a big problem with Jax. We already saw that he can just take down a turret, even though Octimalis stands next to him, so it could be a big dangerous situation if they let him to the T2 turrets.
Bot side being pretty much equal at the moment. Death-wise, kill-wise, farm-wise. I mean, we do have like a little difference between the ADC farm, but does not look like a major thing. We have an engage from Silas going in, and he is getting sandwiched by Maokai, getting ulted and gets finished by Victor. We have the rest of the team that wants to try to get a catch, but will leave it on the tower since they are contesting and playing for the Heralds. Rift shows to see some pings to try to get in, but doesn't really look like they are going to go in. Much rather go for the waves. Meanwhile, we have the Jax on the bot side going for that second tower and still continues to push. So now we have this Jax giving 2 options to Once Upon a Team. Either you come team fight, or either we team fight and we try to win this team fight, or we try to keep that Jax back. Though if they leave that Jax open and on the side lane, he will just go through the towers and make it really ugly for the rest of the game.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem right now. What Once Upon a Team kinda have is that they can't really team fight, because then Jax maybe on sideline just getting a second tier 2, maybe even an inhib turret. And that's a big problem with split push against tank. You need to get more value out of the tank than the split pusher gets on the sideline. We have 2 items actually already on Smoothie, so he is pretty strong on the Sire and can definitely carry some team fights if he gets the peel, if he can peel himself. But that might get hard, because Kaiser as well has 2 items, and Kaiser usually is a little Sire counter just because you can W her and then jump behind her with her ultimate so that the feathers don't hit you. And with that, sometimes harder to play the team fight as a Sire than for Kaiser. And now they maybe trade Drake for Baron. It could be a trade Rift wants to do, but they are really quick and now run to the Baron.
And it looks like they're going for the Baron. They took the Silas, CC him, Chait, and Kaiser just gets the kill. I mean, he just got bursted. And now we are having this situation. We are 1 member down, we have Lex on the side lane going for that tower, and Rift stalling for this Baron. I mean, now knowing that they're not doing the Baron, they're trying to reset. But this gives again pressure on the top side. We have the next wave coming in, so they can just try to push the next wave and also get the top tower. Lex not consistently staying. Oh, no, he is. I think he will stay in the pixel. No, he shows himself again.
Yeah.
Okay, no.
I mean,
still.
What was really close. I mean, Jax almost was on the Nexus inhib turret, but then they somehow stopped the Baron and could play it. But Malphite needs to be constantly at Jax. But they have actually a good Drake lead, 3 Drakes to 0, so all of the next Drakes are basically soul point, and soul definitely is one way to get a better lead in the game. So they might have a good chance here. Problem
Yeah,
with
this is... excuse me. This is kind of putting the reverse card on Jax. Because now that he knows he needs to be there for those Drake fights, this plays against his cards because he really just wants to stay on that side lane.
Yeah, it's true. Now they try to play around Vision and start Baron, and just look at Jax, he's still on sideline. They might get the teleport over of him. There's the teleport, and now they could just stop and maybe turn on him.
We have the Hourglass and engage from Rakan that goes in with the follow-up from Malphite that is stunning everybody. We have a lot of damage coming in, and the first one that is going to fall down, and we have Lex getting Xayah, the second falling down, and this is just a bloodbath. Sylas trying to re-engage but misses the hook, getting stunned and gets hooked by Gristen and also die, and we have the pentakill for Riftsloth.
Yeah, I just if you would look at teamfight in a replay, you just would see that after Lex's teleport, they all tried to dive into the backline. Rakan jumped in, Malphite jumped in, Neeko needs to jump in for the resets and stuff. Mastu also is a backline diving champion on Sylas, and nobody protected their Xayah. I mean, Xayah is basically one of their win conditions. I mean, just look at the farm, look at the items. So if your Xayah is ahead, you can just front to back, right? But nobody protected her from Lex, so she needed to ult, she needed to flash over the wall, and Lex just flashed behind her, so she just died. And meanwhile, without the damage of your Xayah, you didn't have the damage to kill the tanks, and without killing the tanks, you did not get the reset. So that was just miserable, and you really need to play around your fat carry. You really need to play front to back and just protect with Xayah. She is so strong. Just give her time, just protect her, and then you will win teamfights. But without, she has a hard time. Now lost every single summoner spell, and now the real bad time for her begins.
It is also really saddening to see that just Viego having this really clean performance in the early game. That is just like, I mean, now if you compare the farm, he is also falling behind in comparison to the Maokai, where he did have this really strong lead, also having that shutdown on himself. That is really saddening for the Viego, unfortunately. Lex just does not want to let him down. He just sticks on both. He just switches. He gives one to the tower and one to Sylas, and he's just tanking it through, taking the damage and just almost getting him. We get the flash out of Sylas, and meanwhile on the top side, putting pressure on the towers with the Baron and getting the next tower.
Yeah, and by the way, it's actually the AD Kaiser, so just Kraken Slayer Nobori. So they knew about how strong AP they are, so that they just go for AD Kaiser. But this Jax is really a big problem. You can just ignore everybody, you can just take down turrets, inhibitors and stuff, so that's tough, man, that's tough. If you can't really punish him for doing that, then he will just finish the game, probably. At least he has
on mid lane.
Ooh, yeah, they get engaged.
We have the engage from Malphite that goes in, and there is a lot of damage on Kaiser. She Hourglass, but now everybody is falling back, and Malphite gets caught into the fight where Kaiser just finishes him. We have the sticking power on Sylas, but also Sylas uses Hourglass, where the next pick comes onto Rakan, but Rakan can do anything against it. So now it is 5-2-2.
Yeah, and I mean, Drake is alive, that would be soul point, but nobody cares. They just do probably finish push. I mean, they have 20 seconds on most of them, and Neeko isn't in base. Xayah can't really hold the base alone, so it could be definitely a finish. But also just play it safe and go for double inhib into Drake. That would also go out nicely. And I mean, Jax is actually at the Drake, so they just get a lot of stuff on the map, and I believe that that's almost it for Once Upon a Team. They are now 10k behind, and their team comp just isn't working right now. They don't get the resets for the vehicle. They can't protect the Xayah. Xayah can't really go for auto attack, so this game is almost lost for Once Upon a Team.
I mean, one thing that really does not play in the hand of Once Upon a Team is just this 10k gold difference that's just showing into the team fights. Even though having this 3 Drake lead on the early, I mean, this is really, I mean, I think those are those clutch moments we sometimes talk about, that just, even though you perform good your first 10 minutes, it's not only important to perform good your first 10 minutes, but also the 10 minutes after that, and then again the 10 minutes after that.
Actually,
And we get...
I'm yawning. Or is yawning even the word? I don't know.
Yeah, yes, it is, it is.
Yeah, it's just at the moment, just to say it, I'm actually on caffeine. What's the English word? I don't know. Entzug. Anyway, engage.
Oh, we have the Rakan contesting the engage, but this is not enough because there's too much damage for him. He has to flash out to get out of the fight, but the fight continues on, getting CC'd by Nautilus, but we have the Victor getting the kill. Next hook from Grison, and the Victor gets the double kill, and the Diego just can't do anything and gets shredded by Lex.
Yeah, and that's probably it. They have big minion waves coming bot, they have a big minion wave coming mid, and no wave clear has survived. It's just Xayah. Xayah still has all stuns and ultimate. But she can't
There's just nothing they can do about it. They're just putting... Xayah's just trying to contest it and fight it, but Nautilus just gets in front, and this is the next win for Rift SLOTHS. I mean... Again, we saw that Nautilus. I asked for it. I think they watched the stream and they were like, "Oh, you want to see some Nautilus? Wait a minute, we got something for you."
Yeah, it was kind of a predicted outcome, but I mean, Once Upon a Team definitely played it in the early game perfectly. Got all Drakes, got one of the Heralds, got some winning team fights, but yeah, especially this Baron play where they just let Xayah die in a 1v1 against Jax because they all have the need to reset, to jump into the backline and don't have damage. That was really heartbroken to see for Smoothie, because he could have carried and they did not give him the chance to, so they lost this game, sadly. Anyway, we have no interview from the side of Rift, so with that we actually will probably, I don't know if Break is ready, jump into the break at least soon, or soonish, because we have 2 more games to come and Break is actually ready. So if it's fine for you, I would say let's jump into the break and let's see our or let's talk maybe one word about the upcoming match. I think it's a Dynasty against Protonex, so that will be a funny one. I like to see Dynasty games, so let's see how they play it out in a couple of minutes in this break. See you soon.